Welcome to Charts Today for Tuesday the 18th of October, and today we're recording on Thomson Reuters Icon with the Updata system. You can run on lots of different data services of course, but today we're using Thomson Reuters Icon. And so I start with the dollar index, just showing a little bit of just curling over here and coming back through on the 60-minute cloud. Remember, this is the weekly, the daily and the 60-minute. That's long-term, medium-term and short-term, these charts. So your long-term charts, your medium-term and your short-term charts. These are log scale point and figure charts giving us the upside and downside targets. So that's very useful for us to be able to do that. And so we can just see here that we are just coming back through the cloud potentially on the short-term chart. No downside targets though, so at the moment it's too early to say that that's bearish short term. If we look at the euro, we see here that the euro basically is bearish, and still bearish below the cloud. So bearish, the euro remains bearish, and we've got these downside targets to 102, 103, 103, 105. Lots of downside targets, increases the likelihood that we're going there, and some very scary long-term downside targets too. We do have an upside target to 127, which is actually activated, but there's more downside targets. These two not activated. That one is. Activation occurs when you've moved below the level at where the target is given. So that just says that we're bearish on the euro at the moment. If we look at sterling, British pound of course has been the big story of late, just starting to come back above the cloud on the short term, so we might be just looking at a recovery. We do have a downside target here of 119.5, and if we go any higher this morning, then that's going to deactivate that target. That target comes off. We do have a downside target of 105 and parity on the long-term charts. So still bearish in the medium and long term, but in the short term, that means for a couple of days potentially we might just see sterling rising. And of course, if it is the beginning of a new trend, we'll see it in the short-term charts first. And if we look at the euro-sterling chart, these are my tracker charts. So every time I click on one of these, the tracker charts change. We see also that we're just starting to get a reversal here as well. New upside target of 115, but not yet activated. We need a move above, probably about 112 for that to be activated. So that's pretty key as well. But sterling is still falling against some currencies. If we look here, the Australian dollar still pretty bearish here. So it's not bullish all round, and we are seeing another few percent downside there, indicating potentially Australian dollar strength. If we take a look at the markets, US market is actually just testing these 120s again, bearish below the cloud here, bullish above on the daily and the weekly chart, with bullish upside targets, but a very mixed picture short term. So markets just in that short-term turmoil for the moment. If we take a look at the Footsie is bearish below the cloud, just struggling to get back above that 7,000 level, which is really key there. And we see here that we are bearish short term with a downside target. So we do have a little downside potential in most stock markets. If we take a look at the DAX in Germany, we see much the same picture here as well, where we are just bullish on the medium term, just coming through to be a bit more bullish in the long term, and the short term is actually looking a bit better picture than we're seeing on other markets. And if we take a look at the Nikkei index, quite Asian markets just rising a bit overnight, and we are bullish here in the short term. So Asian markets currently faring a little bit better. And if we look at Shanghai Composite, all these prices coming on your Thomson Reuters icon screen, we see here we're bullish short term. So the Chinese market just recovering with about 5% upside. And the Australian market, given we just had a quick look at that Australian dollar, have a quick look at the Australian market. Aussie market is looking a bit bearish short term, but and just really struggling in the medium term as well. So a mixed picture here as well. Most markets, international markets, stock markets, just having that short term mixed picture at the moment. So keep an eye on those very short-term charts. If we look at the chart for Brent, we see here we're just starting to come through on the long-term chart, but not through yet. The seasonal, this time of year, crude normally falls. We're just been bearish on the short term and just recovering, but we do have this downside target. So a mixed picture for oil as well. If we take a look at US nat gas, nat gas has been quite strong lately, where we see we're just coming through on this weekly cloud. This is a long-term recovery that we're seeing here in nat gas. Short term is just wedged a little bit below the cloud here. It does give us a bit of downside, but we have cleared this $3 level on nat gas, so that's quite key. Most softs falling slightly. We see here just things like wheat, cocoa down a little bit. If you take a look at the wheat chart, we see here that we're bearish in the long and the medium term, but we just turned bullish in the short term. So again, a mixed picture there. If we look at gold, gold has had a quite big falls of late, but it's now got back above on this short-term chart. If we can move above this level of about 1265, that gives us a new target of 1296. So that's quite key. So gold just starting to show some strength again. Long-term chart looking great, and some very good long-term targets. Silver I always find is a good lead indicator for gold, and we see here we're through as well. Upside target here of 5 or 6%, 1860. So that's activated as well. So that's quite promising. Taking a look at US interest rates, just looking at the 10-year note. This is the yield chart. A lot of talk about interest rates at the moment. We see that we are bullish on the short term and the medium term chart. Interesting that we moved above that September level. That's quite key on the 10-year. We've got targets up to 218. We're still in a downtrend though, and of course with new lows we'd have new targets down to 167. So but we do have 187, 188, these at 182. These are upside targets. So rates starting to creep up, and I guess no real surprises there. Last of all, we look at some bellwethers. Let's take a quick look at Apple. Apple is one of the more interesting stocks at the moment, recovering through this weekly chart, starting to look bullish again, bullish on the daily, bullish on the 60-minute, and quite a lot of upside targets. Upside potential here of 4 and 5%, short-term upside target of 2.7%. Take a quick look at Google. And we see here that Google is just here, just rising above as well, and we're bullish on all time frames. Upside target here of 37% upside potential. So we are still seeing some very big upside potential targets on some of these US stocks. Of course, you can go through any list of stocks and do this same exercise with this same template. So these 6 charts give you a really good view. Amazon has had a big run lately, just starting to look a little bit more bearish through on the day 60-minute cloud to bearish territory. Below the cloud is bearish, but we don't have any really clear downside targets. So it's too early to call the downside on Amazon, because we don't really have any targets to go for. Again, on Facebook, bullish, and just bearish in the short term. Downside potential of about 2%, but a lot of upside targets in the long and medium term. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.